Hello, my name's Kevin C. I'm a research director at Lux Research, and I'm excited today to be interviewing Bill LaFontaine, who's the general manager of intellectual property at IBM. So welcome, Bill.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So we wanted to kick things off with, because of your position as general manager of IP, talk about how prolific IBM's patenting is and how you manage such a massive R&D effort to generate all those patents.
Well, it's really a culture that makes the difference there. We try to create an environment where people want to file patents, where they aspire to, become master inventors, as an example. So you start with that. You create that kind of background where people want to go do that, and then we overlay that with a decision on how many patents we want in certain areas. So we'll go focus. And then third, on top of that, we have this thing we call our Center for Innovation Leadership. And then we'll look at new areas, whether they be analytics, security, blockchain, and we'll target various parts of the business to go create assets in that area. So it starts with culture, it starts with rewarding people for filing and inventing, and then you'll overlay it with a strategy about what areas are important to you.
Okay, just to build off that, is there a metric or an expectation for, once you define the areas of interest, where you look at the end result and say, oh, over this time period, we have that distribution of patents in those areas?
Yeah, we do look, on a very regular basis. We set out targets about where we want patents to be. We'll go retrospective and say, in the area of artificial intelligence, what have we been able to create in those spaces? So we're constantly looking at the mix. When you have 60, 70,000 patents, we're constantly looking to see, are we inventing where we would like to invent? And what do we need to go to push that innovation forward?
Okay. And I think the logical next question is, obviously you don't do this for fun, you do it to monetize the IP, and that's another area where IBM has proven to be quite strong. So it's not a trivial matter to take IP at that scale and monetize it. So can you talk about the strategy behind taking all this great research and actually generating some revenue from it?
It's a good question. If I go back over the years, I think it really started with our semiconductor business, where we want to do a level of innovation in around that business, but knew we couldn't do it all ourselves. And so that business began to find partners to go work in this area. So we would work on the process technologies that we all were going to use in the marketplace, and we would compete in different areas. So the key is getting the business units to want to partner with folks, because once you get them willing to partner, then you can go license patents and you can license technologies. And so that's where we started. But actually it was research who really got it going, because the research team for many, many, many years has done work with the government and other companies to innovate. And so we use that to kind of foster the innovation work that we're doing at the corporate level, and it permeates all parts of the company.
Mm-hmm. And you brought up an interesting point there with getting the business units to be looking outward. So how does the R&D activity work in concert with the business units, and then how do those two in concert work to reach out to external parties?
So you've got multiple constituencies in IBM who are thinking about R&D. So we've got a strategy team who's looking at what's going on in the marketplace, our competitors and in spaces. We've got a technology team that's looking at various technologies that are emerging. Our research division is focused on several different areas, whether it is science and technology or cognitive or industry solutions. And we go at it from each of these ones slightly differently, each one looking at where it is that we should be focused on. And again, it's this culture across the business to go do that. So research is leading to some effort based on where it's focused. The business units are coming back through these other entities to kind of push and pull us on what it is we go work on.
And you mentioned cognitive, and that's a very high-profile area for IBM, in particular Watson, which to a lot of the general public, they're familiar with Watson winning Jeopardy and things like that. But can you first elaborate on how you take a concept like that and actually turn it into a platform that you aim to monetize eventually?
Well, I think Watson was special. You know, we've been in the area of artificial intelligence for a long time. And we have these things in research we call grand challenges. And the idea behind a grand challenge is there a problem that's really hard to do, that not everybody agrees you can do? But if you did it, it would be create a new business, a new market. And lastly, can you demonstrate it in a way that anybody walking down the street could understand? And so in the area of cognitive, you know, the whole jeopardy was around, that was the idea, look, if you could build a machine that could answer questions at the speed of humans, people could understand that, and that would be a platform for doing all kinds of new things. So that grand challenge is what sparked cognitive for us. You know, we demonstrated that you could play this game as fast as the world's best and demonstrate you could go do this.
Mm-hmm. And you know, IBM reported growth based on cognitive already to this day. I know not all of that's necessarily Watson, but can you talk about where cognitive has actually taken off so far, kind of the early use cases?
Well, we started out with healthcare, and the reason for healthcare is large data sets, a lot of you know, places to help improve. We partnered with doctors to go try to make this thing happen. So we started in healthcare because of that unique set of challenges. We've moved from there to education, to IoT, and we're continuing to explore other areas that we can go do this. But lastly, we're allowing other companies to use our Watson platform to create their own businesses in the different industries.
Okay. And do you see the launch of Watson as a template for which you can base future business or future ideas on?
Absolutely. David Kenny, who now runs what we call the Watson platform, is making this such that almost anybody can go use it, take the various APIs, we've got like 25 right now, put them together to go create new businesses. The senior vice president who started the Watson business has moved over to do business development. Simply, where else can cognitive computing be deployed?
Okay. And with that as a backdrop, what new things, so cognitive is obviously a platform, beyond that, in the 5 to 10 year time frame, what other technologies are you excited about that's coming out of research or that you see as being the Watson of 10 years from now?
Well, I think the number one on that list is going to be quantum computing. We just announced last week the opening up our, we have a 5-qubit machine in our laboratory. We've opened it up through the cloud to let people go play in this area, because we can see in the next 10 to 15 years, and that's the lifetime of some of our researchers in terms of what they're really excited about, is we could actually build a true quantum computer, which can solve problems that no traditional computer can solve. So that's a real interesting area. Neuromorphic computing. Can you build systems that are brain-like? We got some experience in our labs in California, but we think that could be really, really promising. And then lastly, blockchain. We think blockchain could be highly disruptive in various industries like, you know, trade and commerce. And so, again, there we're trying to get a platform out for people to try out and accelerate innovation.
Okay. And to wrap up, can you talk about and explain how the global technology outlook works and how that builds into the planning and execution on the IBM side?
Great, I'm glad to do that. It's a piece of work we do every year. We reach out to all of the researchers around the world and we ask them basically 3 questions. What's new, what's disruptive, and what should we do about it? And we'll get 100, 120, 130 different ideas from researchers around the world of things they think are going to be important. And then we go through a process of sifting and filtering where we have them come in and talk to other researchers about what they believe is going on. And it's you know, a very you know, hard knuckles experience where you go in and someone's going to say whether they agree with you or disagree. We let them iterate, and we'll take this down from 120 ideas. We'll get it down to 10 or 12 umbrella topics, and then we'll get that down to 6. And what we're doing now is when we get these 6 topics, we're asking those teams to do a little bit of a minimum viable product. Do some kind of demonstration that this thing, you know, what you're talking about makes sense. And then we give them an opportunity towards the end of the year, before our budgets close, an opportunity to present these topics to our senior vice presidents and our chairman. They'll spend, you know, almost a full day in research, and we'll put the researchers up there. They'll talk through these topics. topics in the past were, education. We talked about mobility. We called it mobile first. Blockchain came up. And some of these are ones that we'll decide either research will go put an effort around them, or a business unit is so excited about it that they'll lead the effort. And so blockchain's a perfect example of one of those. And so ground up, collection of ideas, and now we're adding that, really demonstrate, really show that this thing might happen in the next 3 to 10 years.
And are you defining things at that higher level, like mobility or education, or do they tend to be more granular than that?
Well, in any one of these projects, we'll come back with 3 things IBM should go do. And we try to say, we see a big picture, here's where we see the shift, here's where we think the opportunity is, and then we'll call out what things we need to do to refine it. And not every one of these makes it all the way, it may make it to the presentation, to our chairman. Sometimes we have to bring it back again a couple of years later to refine. But it's more about, we see it, let's go spend some time and energy on it, and let's go explore it because we think it's going to be disruptive.
Great. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate you making the time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.